Moon Milk Cave. The cave glows like a child, loose with glitter scattering the limestone. I bend my head and enter. There it is. Before my eyes adjust to the dark, I can see luminous hurls of algae flecking in the mottled browns and grey of the cave wall. Moon milk, they call it. I'm inside the South Moor by just a few feet, the Buckfastleigh Ridge underneath, underworld. The air is chilled, sour, and as I gingerly move forward into cramped space, I can sense the capacity for disorientation. The old man gestures to various sandy lumps and asks us to guess what they may well be. Well, I know they're going to be old. Deer scat? Possibly bear or even wolf? The guide's eyes briefly flare with triumph. Hyena. The hound of Africa seems to have once had residence in cosy old Devon. It doesn't stop there. In the half-light, his hands point out other clusters, not just scat this time, but bone. He gives a roll call of the animal remains collected in the cave. Rhinoceros, straight-tusked elephant, bison, and cave lion. Seeing his cue, the guide moves into proper storytelling mode. His arms curve up into the moist air, and he expounds on the mutable nature of something as seemingly permanent as Dartmoor, and informs us that the caves were formed under the immense weight of the River Dart, that the moors themselves were once a vast crust of mountains, and that what we consider Dartmoor is merely the gums of the proud ridge of grey teeth that jutted towards the sky. That these bone piles tell us of a once balmy climate where the hippopotamus and wild boar thrived. Just as my mind scrambles to keep up with this steaming tropical underbelly, the old man delivers his coup de grace. Descending just a few more steps into the cave, he turns and, with a grave expression, notes, "We are entering a dead zone now. No bones, no life of any kind here." This is an even older layer. Long before curious wolves would have found themselves trapped in this fusty holt. This passage belongs to the river goddess, dark with iron and manganese, uneasy cold, just as the first cave was curator of warm bones. Almost within arm's stretch of each other are the two worlds of ice and heat. The great flowing crush of time, unimaginable prehistory, bears down on my peering skull. I am already dust. These are tomb animals. This is not a den, but a cemetery of beings that fell or wandered into the small opening and never got out. There is no human imprint, no owl man scratched, blown, or ochred into the rib-curved walls, no wide-eyed boys squatting on fur, no torchlight beckoning us into yet deeper tunnels, just the immense stillness of a realm that never expected our company. This is a place of deep time intelligence. I recognize it straight away. Why? Because a myth-teller knows that the most impactful dimensions of a story are always underneath. Their creaking bucket carrying us down to where alligator skulls and stored honey reside. They do emergency surgery down there that can take us weeks to catch up with. The emotive connections we make with myths are rather like the entrance to this cave, in a way. And then our imaginations crash through the yellow bracken, tumble into the hard cut of limestone, and we find ourselves in another world, a realm that we may not escape. Day intelligence, the place of lists, process work and schedules, is not the deepest home for story. Elevate stories there too often and they grow pasty, truculent and finally sick. They are not to dance for us like disgruntled bears. As I gaze up at the glistening crust of ceiling, I see the glittering moon milk in a new way. as language, not just human, dripping down through these slurried layers of time, back into the keeping of this womb of prehistory. This is not one of the great initiation pits, those places of unshackling into the dreaming of rock and fir and salt wave, those places where the tribe that was the hill and the bird and the river carved its heart-boggling manifesto into your fledgling imagination. No, it is older even than that. And my own thinking seems to have run aground, can go no further back. The tart air is sharp clumps of sacred breath. I make my speechless gestures of prayer and leave. As I come blinking out into the drizzly pale light, I have just glimpsed a far older, toothier, stranger world. A world turned upside down. I walk a while and enter the convivial atmosphere of the Riverside Abbey Inn, amazingly, just a short walk from this underworld. Pint gathered in, I take my seat on a wooden bench and enjoy the brew, chewy with plenty of malt. I lose myself watching the rapid scatter of the river dart over the stones. Despite the knackered chatter of local builders over my shoulder, the aura of the cave still has me, leaves me blurry with questions as I sip the brew. There's a lot going on. I can't quite get a hold on the world upstairs just yet. I'm sick of things making sense. I thought I knew them all, but down there in the light dark brown scattering of an elephant's tooth, I wasn't so sure. The long departed elephant is more indigenous to them all than I will ever be.